80 years of science fiction, pop culture, of inundating us with the Terminator AI, a lot of fear, scary. And then, of course, human nature. We love sensational headlines. So all we see in the headlines is, something adverse happening with AI, the one-off situation and stuff. Not that that's not important, but that's what we don't want to get over. We don't want to drown in that. And we're here today kicking off Congressional Crypto Week and policies that will be set for the next 100 years that will drive American innovation, that will drive American competitiveness, right? Those policies are happening right now. This is a very important moment, it's a kind of defining moment for this critical technology, AI and blockchain. And I'm going to talk about today how those two come together actually. And I think a lot of people have kind of thought about it, that there's something going on where AI and blockchain need to work together. But I'm going to show you how it actually comes together, and it's sort of like the way forward. So what we want to do today is I'm going to go over case studies, and I want the policymakers in this room, I want the world to see that there's more, it's not as much fun to talk about when good things happen. It's not sensational. It's sensational for the individuals that it happens to and the families that it happens to. But we want to talk about those case studies so that policymakers have a holistic and positive view as we define these regulations. So, fair lending, and we don't think about, especially those of us in this room, we don't think about being excluded from the financial system. But the reality is too many Americans are excluded from the financial process, are unbanked, and worldwide is over 2 billion people that are unbanked and completely forgotten. So, and this is the chart here is a real unfortunate data based on the last 5 years that we've been analyzing the home mortgage disclosure data, that black borrowers are about 2 times more likely to be declined than white borrowers. Hispanics about 1.75, and even worse is veterans is close to 3 times, maybe a little over 3 times. So we've solved that problem with AI. So let's talk about the positives that AI can do, not the negatives. We've solved that problem with AI. For the past 5 years, we've just about equalized it across the board. So this is a centuries-old problem of looking at financial inclusion, looking at delivering financial value equally, right, regardless of race. And we've solved it with technology. So, and this is exciting. So what I want to do next is let's dive into a case study of how this has actually, real world, how it's actually delivered. It's not science fiction, not the Terminator, but AI actually in real world lifting up families, saving families from financial ruin, and bringing them to the side of being fully banked.
I definitely, for the longest time, felt like I was not going to get into a home. I thought it was impossible. Even though I served my country, I got this GI Bill, I still walked away that not feeling good enough. I actually had roadblocks put on me from people that should be helping me get into a home.
He was 80% disabled when I first met him. He went from having a full-time income to all of a sudden having that cut in half. His credit had taken a hit. My credit had taken a hit. I knew that this was going to be a really difficult, uphill battle.
As a husband, as a leader, I can't move us into a new building. That's what it feels like, because this family needs a home. They need a home that will facilitate their needs. And I couldn't do that. That hurt a whole lot. And I felt like I might lose my family. I might lose my marriage because I'm not able to provide moving forward. And there's been a lot of roadblocks.
When I first spoke to Isaiah, he told me about AngelAi, how it's a little bit different and how they look at people individually and how they're able to tailor each person's file to what they need. I just was very skeptical of this. And so I called Isaiah, he checks our credit. He tells me, he's like, hey, we're good to go. And I'm like, it's that easy? I'm like, no, what's the catch?
Kayla was very reserved at first. She didn't believe me. She would call me several times, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Are you sure? Are you sure? I was like, just trust me. And that's where AngelAi came into play. I was able to upload their file directly to Angel as an Angel run scenarios here. She sent her documents in, I submitted them. So when they review your documents, AngelAi will say, true pre-approval, send to your borrower. Good thing about AngelAi is they back up their approvals. So even if there's an error found after, because they approved it, they will back up that loan regardless.
At the sign-in for our house, we were just at the table. We were going to get our home. The paperwork was on the table, and we found a hiccup. It was all going to be stopped. Our home we bought be taken away, it felt like. At best, the news was it was going to take days to maybe fix whatever this issue was within our paperwork. But Isaiah was able to rip out AngelAi, and within 20 minutes have the whole issue fixed. And we were able to recover that day, get it done, and come to our home.
This was, I think, one of the last pieces for us to have our lives take off in the way that we wanted it to. One of the goals for Christian and I was to give our children a home that we will raise them in until they graduate. We want them to have a core memory of their home, their homestead. It was super important for us to get them somewhere and to keep them somewhere, to give them stability. This was such a great opportunity. My kids have gotten so much more than we ever expected coming here. Without AngelAi, we wouldn't be where we're at, and that's 100% the truth. We would still be in our rental, signing another lease for another year.
Helping a family that's been denied before is the best feeling in the world because you're on top of the world. You feel like Superman. You feel like, hey, I gave you the answer that you didn't think you would get. I told you yes when everybody else told you no. When you see them at the closing table and the smiles and they're writing their names on the paper and they're getting the keys, you can't explain that feeling. AngelAi gives people hope.
I would describe AngelAi as thinking outside the box for people that are outside the box. It wasn't just the homeownership, but just everything at once came into play with our finances, with the VA, with everything. And then we were able to look at each other and say, this is it. Everything that we've wanted, the ball is gonna start moving. I love you.
I love you. Thank you, AngelAi.
So they were denied many times by many banks, moving from rental to rental. And now they can live securely in their own home. Right. And this is just one of tens of thousands of stories that are real value of what AI can do, is doing today. Right? So we have to keep this in mind, that it's not just, AI is just not about kids cheating on their homework and using it to prepare their term paper. No, it's AI, it's about delivering real economic values and lifting families. And, she said the most important thing is it's an out of the box. It thinks out of the box for those that are out of the box. But this is the gig economy. And most banking regulation, most bankers are still thinking like 1960, right? And so everyone is basically out of the box now, right? And how do you get people, how do you handle that? Well, bankers, when you do a mortgage, it's a very complex process. It is actually, when you look at all the parameters and all the things that can happen, it's like a 100-dimensional chessboard, right? And 20 years ago, Google Deep Blue beat the chess grandmasters, right? And 10 years, it was IBM Deep Blue beat chess grandmasters 20 years ago. And Google Go beat Go masters, 10 years ago, right? So this is, banking grandmaster, right? And there's so many possible combinations. Every time you talk to a banker and give them more information, there's like a an infinite number of ways this thing can go, and the AI's got to find the right way. And we're expecting for every single homeowner, every single American, that when they go to a bank to apply for whether, a line of credit or buying a home or buying a car, that their banker is a grandmaster. It's not possible, right? But if their banker is an AI, it is possible, right? Because the AI can look through all the different possibilities. So fair lending in action is about building communities at the core, right? And it's about using the AI and your AI DNA. The DNA in which your AI is built has to be built for lifting a community. What's the purpose of the AI, right?
Wayne Bailey. My name's Leslie Korolek. I also am a Desert Storm veteran. My career is to travel around and help families do interventions when there's an alcohol or drug problem that needs attention.
The real PTSD kicked in later on in my military career and got really bad when I got out because I was lost.
I ran into some roadblocks in that the 2 top treatment centers that would send me people closed during COVID, and I needed some support.
A SunWest mortgage has saved my home twice.
I called and explained the situation. I said, I'm embarrassed, and he wouldn't even let me finish. He said, please, please, please don't feel that way. We're here to help you.
It's just crazy how SunWest mortgage supports veterans. It's awesome.
It allows me to focus on the families that I'm helping.
Your true home is always within.
Your true home is always within.
Point here is that you can use AI to get you in the home, but life's not a straight line. There's ups and downs. I think our legislative process, our programs have recognized that and done a great job of creating many kinds of programs to help Americans when they need it, when they need it the most. And as Ronald Reagan said, Americans need a hand up, not a hand down. And there's a lot of great hand up programs. And that's the good news. The bad news is there's a lot of great hand up programs. Okay, and there's too many, and most people can't get through it. And again, you need a grand master to walk you through it. And that's where, again, proper implementation of AI means that delivery of government services can go to the last mile properly, fast, accurately, so that homes are saved, families are saved, financial lives are saved, and people get back to work and back to delivering in the economy. All right, so it boils down to DNA, it boils down to how you build your companies, how you build an AI infrastructure. Okay, so what I encourage policymakers to do is to stay away from what I call DEAI, right? Which is forcing corporations to have departments that say you have to have diversity and equality in AI, right? It's not an add-on. You cannot add on a diversity, equality AI department and expect a company without the DNA to lift communities to actually deliver that. It'll feel good. It'll be some movement, but it won't actually solve the problem. So the problem is solved, right, by a vibrant and competitive marketplace where companies are forced to look at giving values and delivering value, economic value to the communities. And as that happens, then the AI is used properly for good and properly for lifting communities. And so the entire focus should be on decentralization and democratization and a vibrant and competitive marketplace for AI. So a lot of people, everyone's building AI, but not all AI is built equally. So that's Nadella of Microsoft is struggling with finding ways to make money with AI. Not all AI is built equally. And OpenAI, Sam Altman himself says he trusts the answers of ChatGPT less than anybody else, right? His quote, right? So now in financial AI, can you imagine if a financial AI hallucinates, right? Approves you or hallucinates the amount of money in your bank account, right? it can't do that, right? So it takes a different kind of AI. And it's like, imagine if your self-driving car hallucinates. What that could do, right? It hallucinated a green light when there's supposed to be a red light. So it takes different kinds of AI. When you have high stakes, right, high value assets at stake, then it takes a different kind of approach. And it takes innovation. It takes a lot of people focusing and specializing in those areas to build the specific AIs to deliver real value to us. Right. So in this case study, we have 20 years of engineering and 45 years of regulation and loan history and transactional history. So it isn't like so when the Shannon family has this difficult situation with the disability and so forth, how does the AI get them through it? Okay, it's because it has so much data, right? It's the equivalent of 100,000 experts. So it's not like you're going to one expert and getting an answer. You're getting simultaneously your situation analyzed by 100,000 experts. So it can find the best path through. And as a result, just like as you would expect your self-driving car to never run over somebody, right? You have to trust it. Right? Your self-driving financial AI has to be trusted 100%. You have to, if it tells you that you can, if it tells the bank, go ahead and release the money, right, it better be right? Because once the money's out, it's gone, right? If it tells the customer that, yes, you're approved, it better be right, okay? So this is a different kind of AI that has to be accurate 100% of the time. And that's making waves, and hundreds of thousands of people are on the platform, being added to the platform. We have, 23% month-over-month growth, acceleration, followed by 10% acceleration. These numbers keep going up. So we're getting the AI out to the hands of people, to Main Street America that use it, that need it to lift up their lives. And that's what's important. The Main Street America is using AI in a simple and easy way. And actually, you can go as far as to say in a fun way. All right. And that's removing financial barriers. People who never thought that they can be a part of this system, who never thought they could be using AI to manage their money, right? Using AI to get into blockchain, right? We've opened those possibilities.
When you look at so much of crypto, especially when you get into the DeFi realm, it's not intuitive, it's not user-friendly, and that's going to hurt adoption into an industry that we all love, which trickles into kind of Bitcoin, right? And so I say focus on the user experience, focus on protecting and safeguarding.
So I took the liberty of recording Eric Trump at the Bitcoin conference, and so he made a really good point there, which is that less than 1% of the population has even a crypto wallet, right? And it's complex and it's hard, right? And that's the reason why we don't have greater penetration. So as we go into crypto week and we're making crypto regulations right now, it's most Americans are like, what is this for, right? Because they never used it, right? So we have to solve that problem by giving easy access, right? So, and if you think opening a crypto wallet is hard, imagine 70-year-old grandmother getting her first mortgage, how hard that is, right? So, again, a real world scenario, 70-year-old grandmother getting her first mortgage, and doing it all on AI, and chatting with AI and completing the process, and talking to an AI twin of the loan originator. In fact, the person who actually worked with her is here today, and you can talk to him when you get a chance. When Sal, if you're in the room, you can say hi. There's Sal. Yeah. So if you can make it that simple, where just having a conversation with Sal's twin and you have a mortgage in minutes, right? Then you can solve blockchain, then you can get stable coins, easy transactions, and send money from the US to Mexico or wherever, all through stablecoin instantaneous transactions. And that's the future. That's exciting. And we want to make it so that it's adopted, right? High adoption rate. And high adoption rate means super easy, convenient. And to that end, if we bring it all together and as we define policies, so one of the sponsors is AI Innovation Association that I co-founded, and the main principles here to deliver this kind of value and to lift our community, the main principle here is decentralized, open access / open source, and increase competitiveness. Let's do what Americans do best, which is American ingenuity and competition and creativity. Right? Let's foster that. Let's not slow that down. Let's foster that. Let's increase that. Okay, and let's create a framework, a code of ethics that is framed around those ideas and those principles. Okay, and so the best solution to keeping AI from becoming the Terminator AI is that if everyone has their own personal AI, and if everyone, and if companies are invited to create their version, right, and to solve problems in their communities, right, and we need a regulatory framework that creates that. Okay, so we are at a time where everyone can have their own personal AI, and your personal AI is stored on chain with your data that you track and lock on wallet. That's the best use, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the best use of blockchain technology, the best use of wallets is to secure your data. Right, so instead of you giving away all of your data to Google, keep it for yourself and monetize it in your personal AI, and that will bring the economics down to everybody as opposed to taking their most valuable. Right now, data is a new gold. Your most valuable possession is now being taken. It's now being taken by those who don't even realize how valuable it is. So these are the basic principles of AI association, and you're going to hear from Steve Kennard later today about this. Do recommend you guys get involved with that and get involved with setting policies for open competition. I also finally invite you to experience AngelAi. I invite you to see how simple it is to create a wallet by simply, downloading the app and just say wallet, and you start talking to her, and your wallet's up in a few minutes. So I do invite you to do that, and I also thank you for taking the time to hear my 2 cents. And I don't know if there's any time for questions. I don't know if we're out of time or not. So if there's any questions in the room. Okay. Oh, there's a question? Yes. Yeah. Okay, yes.
Recently, there's been some controversial discussions with lawmakers about imposing a 10-year ban on state-level regulations of the AI. From the private business sector, is that a necessary action?
Yeah, that's a complex question. I mean, we recently, the AI Association recently had a great success in Texas, where they were, started off as a very draconian anti-innovation bill, ended up being a very positive bill, and then they adopted almost entirely our code of ethics that the association put out. So, but on the other hand, Colorado, the governor of Colorado, he signed a bill, I think, a year ago, and he said, this is a terrible bill, and I'm signing it anyways. Right. So, and California passed the bill through both houses, and thankfully Governor Newsom didn't sign it. He said, it's a terrible bill, I'm not signing it. So what happens when a major state puts the bill in motion that's going to stifle innovation, or any state, right? And we have to stop and think about that. I mean, I'm all for decentralization and bringing as much of the power down to local communities as possible. But we also have to be worried about, one state setting an agenda that could end up, because for a tech enterprise or a national enterprise, when you have to do business in every state, you end up designing your business to the lowest common denominator, right? So if one state goes a certain way, then it kind of changes, it sets the landscape for everyone else. So we cannot forget that that is interlocking mechanisms involved here as well. So I'm not sure if I completely answered the question, gave you a direct yes or no, but I think it's more fruitful right now to think about the consequences on both sides and to weigh those as we define Crypto Week. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah. Oh wait. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So you mentioned that to stop Terminator AI from happening, everyone should have their own AI. Are you saying, how would that work? Are you saying that everyone should have their own personal AI suited to them? And if so, is it something that they're making suited to them? Or is it someone that, company that will help journalize and give specifications on how the AI can function?
Yeah, I mean, a Terminator AI is the ultimate, the Department of Defense letting drones make kill decisions on their own, which I think multiple Air Force commanders, I forgot his name, but anyways, he said many times that they will never, they have no plans of doing that. But when I say about personal AI, I'm talking about, look, at the end of the day, most of the models and the algorithms for AI is in open source. It's in the public domain. And it is now to a point where it's easily accessible. This famous paper by Google 3 years ago that said, the title was "We Have No Moat," right? And that was a Google engineer saying, hey, we don't have anything different in AI that is not already publicly available. So they were concerned about inability to stay competitive. Be different. So that's the good thing for the rest of us means that the real value of the AI is your data. Right? When you say personal AI, it's your personal data. Okay, so if that's our mission here is to integrate a blockchain wallet into AngelAi, and that then, as it collects your data, it saves it in the wallet and it stays yours. Right, so that's your personal AI. Your data is your personal AI, right? So the algorithms are already in the public domain, and the technologies are in the public domain, and the GPUs are going to get cheaper and cheaper, and I don't see, I think in a year or two, basically everything you need will be on your cell phone to run your AI. It'll be that inexpensive. Good question. I'm just excited about what I'm doing, and if I can continue to lift millions of people out being unbanked, right? There's so much work to be done. So many people just knowing about it and getting into it and saying, hey, you know what? I didn't think I can get into banking. I didn't think I can get loans. I don't think I can get my financial house in order, get my credit repaired. Get my financial security in place. Now that there's the tools that they can actually do that. I mean, I have a lot of work to do with, there's more than 2 billion people across the world that are unbanked, and that's what I'm focusing on, and it's going to be great. And I hope that, yesterday I had a conference call with another company out of England. They're doing some amazing work. And I was talking to the CEO. I feel like I was talking to him in a mirror, because he also did something similar to AngelAi, but on the medical side. And it makes very, and just like in medicine, you can't make a wrong decision, you're gonna kill somebody, right? We make a wrong decision, you're gonna kill somebody's financial life, right? In medicine, you kill somebody, you really kill somebody, right? You make a bad decision. So his AI is, again, built on a lot of similar principles and makes accurate decisions. So as those things come, and I think somebody else is going to do something for another industry, right? We already got self-driving cars and something else. So I think there's going to be a lot of different companies doing, specific verticals, and that's when we're going to really see the value and economic gains from the AI. Okay. Okay. All right. One more question. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. One more then. Yeah.
Obviously, identity is such an important issue, and you're, developing a verifiable credential, for identity, specifically. Market structure bill, Clarity Act. We know KYC doesn't work. Obviously, too many honey holes that have been, compromised. I've given a thought to how, your digital identity might interface at the Clarity Bill's level, for market structure and, for broker dealers to be able to use your identity function for that purpose. Onboarding folks. I mean, my goal is to get rid of user names and passwords. I hate it. How much time do you spend every day just refiguring the password? So, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Then the 12 keys or 24 keys for your blockchain wallet is even going to be more challenging.
You don't want to give that.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it boils down to somebody's got to hold the keys at the end of the day. And we know the risks of a custodian-based system, right? Then you go from decentralization back to centralization. So I don't know if there's ever a solution to the key problem. But once you get past that, I think there's a lot of tech already for KYC, and if the key is safe, then we know who you are, right? And that can be verified. But I think you're asking for how do we avoid the key itself?
No, not for the key itself, obviously, but for obviously the fact that you've done all the verification at your level. How does that potentially feed into a broker dealer like River Financial?
Gotcha.
It does nothing but maintain Bitcoin.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, once we've done the verification, it's on chain, right? Then it's just a matter of the counterparties accepting your ledger, right? And I think being on chain makes it transparent. Is easy to verify. So I think that's the markets will figure that out. Two parties working with each other. The beauty of blockchain is, personally, I think it's not the most efficient technology. It's got lots of challenges in it. But the good news is that it's a standard, and it's a worldwide standard. Everyone accepts it. Right? The beauty of the blockchain is that it's a single source of truth. One ledger entry, everyone agrees that ledger entry is valid. Okay. So now, when you have that kind of transparency, I think the market itself will figure that out on its own. I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah. Huh?
I've got some ideas.
Yeah. Okay. We really need to move with Gary Acosta. I'm so excited. I can't wait to talk to him. So he's runs NAHREP, National Association of Real Estate Professionals, Hispanic real estate professionals, and that's over 60,000 realtors across the country that are directly under him. Okay, and for a lot of people in DC don't understand how important that is. But if you think about it this way, realtors are masters or experts at community engagement. So at minimum, each realtor, if you said each realtor has a direct influence network of 1,000 people, so 60,000 realtors times 1,000, right, is 60 million people. So Gary is like, it's a big deal. Right? He himself controls 60 million people. So he can move entire elections, right? So I can't wait to interview him. I'm in awe. Thank you, Gary, for coming. Yeah. All right. So this This discussion is about uplifting families, about creating wealth and generating wealth for the long term, especially in the Hispanic community, and that's what Gary's been fighting for decades. And I'm going to start from my favorite topic, which is AI and blockchain. And, at the risk of sounding stereotypical, but I've noticed that, the Hispanic community usually stays a few years behind on adoption of technology. And this is a world where $15 trillion is being added to the economy in the next 5 years because of AI. And that's AI alone. I didn't even add the crypto component to it, where Bitcoin was being a $2 trillion market cap. What are your thoughts of changing that mindset and getting that community, instead of a couple years behind, let's get them a couple years ahead?
Well, first of all, thanks for the invitation to be here. This is a fantastic event. So I'm going to challenge that perception a little bit, that Latinos are late to adopt new technologies. I think that perception was created around the time that the internet became a thing. And you needed to have access to the internet. You needed to have a desktop computer. You needed to live in the right neighborhoods and whatnot. So there was really a challenge back then in getting people connected to the internet. That kind of changed when wireless technology took over. And I remember even reading a couple of articles at the time that not only would underserved communities in the US, but also around the world had a chance to collapse timeframes because they didn't have to undo the wired infrastructure that other more first world countries had to do. And they had the chance to really make up a lot of ground. And I think that kind of happened. The one, I think, thing that the Latino population in particular has in its advantage is its youth. So Latinos in the United States are on average 10 years younger than the overall population, 15 years younger than the non-Hispanic white population. So adoption to new technologies today is actually changing. You look at Latino numbers when it comes to social media, when it comes to mobile phone usage, they actually out-index the population today. So to your point, I think there is a tremendous opportunity right now, and I'm certainly trying to convey this message to my network, that AI gives us an even greater chance to close gaps that have historically been there, maybe more than any other technology.
Wow, that's a great, I learned something. That's great.
Well, I've learned a lot already this morning, so.
And then NAHREP recently put out an economic survey that I think it was talking about how Latinos are leading the way in home ownership and leading the way in housing. So can you talk about the substance of that report?
Yeah, the Urban Institute actually put out a report a couple of years ago that estimated that 70% of net new homeowners over the next 20 years will be Latino nationwide, right? So that's huge, right? And so if you're in the housing space, if you're in the mortgage space, if you're in the real estate space, if you want to be in business in 5 years, you better pay attention to this market segment, quite frankly. But again, a lot of that has to do with the youth of the Latino population. So the average age of a Latino is about 30 years old, just starting to enter those prime home buying years. Plus, if you know anything about Latino culture, you know how important the family is to Latino culture. The home is the centerpiece of the family experience. So the desire for home ownership amongst the Latino community also tends to out-index the overall population. So they have the desire, they are right at the right age. Now it's all about affordability and sort of closing the gap in terms of access.
Excellent. And I know today there's a lot of senior NAHREP realtors here in the audience.
Are we here? I see a few.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of work to be done in building wealth in Latino and other minority communities. What's your direction and advice to your leadership that's here and how they can move that forward?
Well, first of all, it's my personal opinion that the primary challenge that the country is facing isn't really about our political divide, isn't really about a lot of the things that we see in the media every day. I think the wealth gaps that we have in this country are really driving a lot of the discomfort out there for many, many Americans. So closing that wealth gap, I think we all have a stake in seeing that happen. If you just look at the demographic numbers and you see that we are, rapidly becoming a country that's even more diverse and is actually becoming a majority diverse community, the fact is that the country cannot maintain its leadership in the global economy if those diverse communities aren't also thriving. So it's important for, I think, minority communities, the wealth building concept, but I also think it's important for the whole country. The whole country has a stake in this. Fortunately, I like to joke, and it's not really a joke, that Latino immigrants don't come to this country because they love our food or our music or our fashion. They come to this country for one reason and one reason only, and that's economic opportunity, right? The opportunity to create a better life for themselves and their families. And the acquisition of homeownership is that cornerstone of the American dream for many, many Latino families. So there's reason to be optimistic, but I don't think those gaps are going to close by themselves. It's going to take people like you and people like the folks in this audience that are going to be essential in closing those gaps in the future.
Excellent. So what's your advice or recommendations to the Trump administration on improving, increasing housing accessibility, affordability? And then the follow-up question to that is, I think it was recent statements that they are going to move forward in privatizing Freddie and Fannie. And how do you feel that would help or hurt?
Well, okay, so I'll try to take those on one at a time. The affordability issue, and I hate to oversimplify issues because there's nothing that is, due to one thing, but the affordability issue is really a factor of housing inventory and the lack thereof. The fact that there's just not enough affordable housing stock in the marketplace today. So that is number one. And I do think that the Trump administration has communicated signals that they get this. And, given the fact that the president is a real estate guy for all intents and purposes, I think there's probably reason to be optimistic in that regard, which is good. That is half of the equation. The other half of the equation is then access. And I think this is where you come in and people like you, which is the underwriting criteria that the mortgage banking industry has used for the last 50 years has not changed a whole lot, right? So we still look at W-2s and pay stubs and so forth. The fact is our economy has changed dramatically. The gig economy is here to stay. I like to joke that Latinos actually invented the gig economy. Man, we've been doing the gig thing for a long, long time. But understanding and I think measuring capacity, the capacity to repay does need to be readdressed. And I do think that's where AI, that's where new technologies can start to identify new metrics, and we can become much more, I think, predictive and accurate in really finding people that maybe today, because they're self-employed, aren't qualifying for mortgages, but truly are ready and capable of being successful homeowners. And
last question, almost out of time, but it's a loaded question.
Okay.
So do you agree with the president's position on telling the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates and as a tool to boost housing?
I as somebody that has been part of this industry for a long time, I know that the Federal Reserve does not really have the ability to impact mortgage rates directly. The Federal Reserve controls short-term rates, overnight rates. Mortgage rates are more tied to the 10-year Treasury bill, which is more market-driven. So I do think focusing on inflation, lowering inflation is going to have a bigger impact in lowering those rates for the long term. And I think people like you and I, we don't necessarily support a lot of artificial stimuli, right? I believe in market-based solutions because those are the solutions that are going to last and are sustainable. So, I don't have a big opinion of that. Maybe some people will benefit from short-term interest rates being lowered, but we know in the mortgage business it's more complex than that.
I think I can squeeze one last question in. So what about housing assistance programs and down payment assistance programs? Do you think the administration could be doing more on that front?
Well, okay, so I have mixed, feelings about that as well, because, you look at home ownership, or I should say down payment, is really, if you survey a lot of potential first-time home buyers, that is a primary barrier to home ownership for many, many families. So anything that you can do to help close that gap or improve that barrier is going to be helpful. The thing is that down payment assistance, unless there is some market-based benefit that comes from that, is only anecdotal. It's not going to solve the problem in a macro basis, right? Unless we can find a way to make it more profitable for companies, both public and private, to benefit from that. If we can do that, then I think absolutely. But if it's just still kind of charity thing, you're going to help a handful of people, but you're not necessarily going to move the needle forward a whole lot.
Amazing. Any last words of wisdom for, especially for
So Fannie Mae and
policymakers?
Freddie Mac, I didn't answer that question. Privatizing it, it's probably time. Those of us in the industry know how important it is to have a robust secondary mortgage market. How much that is really tied to investor trust, right? So the government completely backing away from the secondary mortgage market does raise concerns for those of us that have been in the business for a long time. However, I think the market is ready for innovation. It's ready for new influx of capital. I think this is still the best, nation in the world to make capital investments. So, I think it is something that has to happen. We just have to be very careful on how that's executed.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much. It's great to be here. This is a really great thing that you're doing, by the way. Congratulations.